I guess your other videos have been safe. Assuming this is the same channel. Okay.
In this video, I will be going
on.
over how much time we spent on making the game, how much money it made, how many refunds it got, where the people who bought it are from, and a bunch of other stats like that. I made Link together with the artist Frog. When we started working on the game, we had a set date where we had to finish the game, since I was gonna go into more university and I didn't have the time to do it for forever. We only worked on it for 75 days, and in that time I personally spent 239 hours. I tracked all of this manually. Most of it is in coding. There's still some of it in art, even though Frog drew everything. I still have to place it in the code and put it where it should be. And then there's marketing, publishing, sound, testing, all of that stuff. Frog didn't track his time, so I can't know for sure, but I would guess that he spent around 250 to 300 hours on it. So in total, we spent about 500 hours on this game. You can see that in the middle of the graph, I have the so-called despair zone, where you get stuck, you feel like you can't work, you just get stuck doing absolutely nothing.
Hey Forsen,
This,
are you going to TwitchCon? Forsen, are you going to TwitchCon?
No.
Forsen, TwitchCon when? Badgers, lol, 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 badgers, lol.
Gonna work on anyways, so there was a long period where not a lot of stuff got done, and this, of course, this affects Frog as well, because when I don't do anything, he doesn't do anything, because it's like, you know, when you stop communicating, you feel like, okay, I don't have to do anything. So when you're in a team, it's important that you push each other on and communicate everything that you're doing, because it motivates the other person to keep working. Towards the end, I go into the crunch mode. I worked almost like 40-hour weeks. If you sum it all up, I worked about 20 hours per week. So it was like having a half-time job. Our marketing strategy was to get big streamers to play it. The main goal was to get Nim and Forsen to play it, but fortunately for us, a lot of other streamers played it. I don't know if it had anything to do with the name. The name is a famous emote on Twitch, so maybe that caught their eye in the Steam library, or maybe they saw the other streamers play it and decided to play it as well. The total amount of Twitch views we got is 190,000 views, but we actually got more YouTube views than that, which you may say, oh, that sounds great, then you would get a lot of sales from YouTube, right? Well, most of these views from YouTube are from 2 videos. Both of them seem to be targeted to a very young audience, and I don't think such a young audience actually buys a lot of games on Steam. The most viewed video is from a content creator from Brazil. Just by looking at how many people actually bought the game in Brazil, I can say that these 600,000 views did not convert that well. I would estimate around 1 sale per 50,000 views, which is not great. But all in all, I would say our marketing plan and strategy worked as well as we could have hoped. We didn't have a lot of time to spend on extra marketing. We didn't spend any money on it except for 4 TTS donations, which amounts to 40 bucks. So we didn't really do as much as we could have done with the marketing. My personal goal for the game is to sell 1,000 copies in 1 year. So I still have some time left if it hasn't already sold 1,000 copies, which we'll see. Make that 5, right, I guess. Now. I've divided this chart up into impressions, which is whenever a user sees a game inside the Steam store page, on the search field, on the home page, anywhere. Page visits, which is when a user clicks on the game or is taken there automatically by the discovery queue or the new releases queue, which is a lot more people than you might think. Wish lists, not the total amount, but new wish lists in that period. So before the game launched, we had 378 wish lists, which is not a lot at all, but this was mostly because we only launched the store page 1 month before releasing the game, and we didn't spend a lot of time marketing, as I said before. so we didn't really have time to accumulate a lot of wish lists. So the wish list number doesn't really match what you would expect a normal indie game to sell. Usually you say that if you have 5,000 wish lists, you can expect to sell 2,500 copies. Then we have the amount of copies we sold and the gross revenue, which does not paint the whole picture.
Look at him.
That sounds
He
really
is
high.
so poor. Our juice lord is number 2. Excuse me.
5,000 wish lists convert to 2,500. Surely that is high. 50% with the attention span that people have. People just wish list shit, forget about it.
Go into how much money we actually made after going through how much money we sold for. So let's start with the first day. And this is actually the first 2 days, because we announced that the game would be launching on the 15th of January. But after we had announced that, we later realized that you can't actually publish games on the weekends on Steam. So we had to publish it on the 14th, which is why if I took the actual first day, it wouldn't really tell the true story. So I'm taking the first 2 days as the first day, since the second day is when we actually announced that the game was out. Over 200,000 people saw the page anywhere on Steam. About 10% of those actually visited the page. We got 327 new wishlists, so we almost doubled our wishlist in one day, which I don't think is the norm. And this equated to a total number of 293 sales and a gross revenue of $1,051. We were pretty happy with this. It felt like if we could sell this in one day, we would probably reach 1,000 in a year. If we would have sold less, I'm pretty sure we would have been pushed to market the game more afterwards. But the pressure fell off our chests. We were just happy. We were just watching all the streamers play it. You know, it was kind of a euphoric experience, because you get so many impressions, so many people saying that they like the game, giving nice comments. I really just like relief from all the stress and the crunch time before the game released. So what about a week after it released? Well, let's see. We got almost 1 million impressions, which sounds insane, like 1 million people. That's more than I can imagine. The page visit ratio went down a bit, but the wishlist kept up pretty well. But you would expect the sales to not keep up as well as the other stats, because the people who have been waiting for the sale, they will buy it automatically, and the people who see the game in the store page afterwards, I'm guessing the conversion rate won't be.
They will buy it automatically? What does that mean? Like if the Steam wallet just buys it if they have money in it? Because that would be automatically. You mean that he buys it right away? He meant immediately. Alright.
High. Let's see. 518 sales, which amounts to $1,909. As you can see, it doesn't really keep up with the other stats, but it's still pretty close. I hit half of my goal in 1 week, so you know, I'm pretty confident that it will sell eventually 1,000. You can probably guess by now it hasn't sold 1,000 yet. And let's see for the last month. The last month, nothing extra really happened. Soda Poppin played the game. That didn't really bring in super many purchases. I think I could see on the stats that it was like maybe 6 or 10 people bought the game the day Soda Poppin played it, and he played it in front of 15,000 viewers on Twitch. So do with that what you want, but that converts to kind of like 1 purchase per 2,000 views. Something interesting to note is that it looks like around 8% of people who see a game in Steam clicks on it. That would mean that you would click on every 12th game you see on the store page. That doesn't really sound accurate, right? If you actually look at the categories which bring in the page visits, there are a lot of categories where there is no impression. The categories that just take you directly to the page. For example, the discovery queue is one of the biggest contributors to the page visits, and you will never get any impressions from that one. So you can subtract all of these and come up with a number that's actually way lower. So about 1% of people who see the game in Steam clicks on it. It definitely feels more correct that you browse through 100 games before you actually click on one. This number is probably higher for other games, but maybe you see like 50 games on the page before you actually click on one. The sales number almost went up to 600 sales. The final gross revenue is $2,230, and this is the gross revenue. So there are a lot of things that will subtract from this before me and Tupifrog actually get any money. Okay, so this is where it gets ugly.
Steam
Total
cut
gross revenue
30%.
was $2,230. So that is the total amount that people paid for Lulink. The first thing we need to deduct is the VAT tax, which is the sales tax, and this varies from place to place. It depends on where you buy the game. It amounts to about 10%, so minus $230 there. Then we have to deduct the refunds, and the refunds is a thing you can do in Steam if you've played a game for less than 2 hours and if it was less than 14 days since you purchased the game. And we thought that this would be a big problem for our game because, as you can see on this graph here, this is how long...
Oh wait, what? Oh, it has to have both minus 2 hours and minus 14 days. So you cannot refund it if you have less and it's been more than 14 days.
People played the game. And as you might notice, the blue part is under 2 hours and the pink part is above 2 hours. And this is because the game is actually completable in less than 2 hours.
Yeah.
So we were a bit worried about this. We thought that, okay, maybe there's a lot of people who play the game and if they beat it in less than 2 hours, they just refund it because why not, you know, it's free money. So the amount of people who played it less than 2 hours, as you can see here, is 80%. So worst case scenario, we would have 80% refunds, which would amount to $1,660. And as you can probably guess, that would amount to us getting basically nothing. What we predicted beforehand was that we would have about like maybe 25%, and 25% is still very high for Steam. There are not a lot of games that have 25% refund. We were preparing for 25%. But as it turns out, the community is actually very nice. Not a lot of people refunded. Only about 10%, as you can see. 57 refunds. We sold 592 copies, so that's 10%, which is from what I've heard about the average on Steam. It's usually between 5 and 20%. So this turns out to be minus $214.
It's 5 to 20% refunds on average on Steam.
And this is just the cut that Steam takes from all of the games after the refunds and the VAT tax has been taken off. 30% of the remaining amount. And it turns out to be $536. Minus $536. Then we have the advertising cost, which I said before was just 4 TTS donations, which amounts to $40. We don't have to pay the $100 that we paid to get on Steam. We get that money back since we actually sold over $1,000, so that's a bonus.
Right.
But then after all of this is drawn off, I have another person who worked on the game with me, Tupifrog, and we decided before that we would split the costs and the revenue 50-50. So he gets $605 and I get $605. But we're actually not done there. When I get that money, I actually have to pay taxes to the Swedish government as well. But for simplicity's sake, since I don't actually know the percent I have to pay, it's probably pretty low since the amount is pretty low. But for simplicity's sake, I'm gonna leave that amount out. But keep that in mind that I will probably have to draw off another 20% or 25% of this number. Okay, so I get 605.
Not true. If you don't have any other job, if you're going to university, there is a thing called hobbyverksamhet, which is an amount you can earn without paying taxes privately, which is $400 in Sweden currently. So you're good.
$5. You might say that's pretty good, and I would agree with you because I didn't do this as a job. You know, I didn't expect to get money from it as if I would have worked instead. But let's compare with if I would have done it as a job, just because it's fun and I like stats. So $605, that amounts to $2.50 per hour, which amounts to $5,200 per year. And I live in Sweden. According to this graph, the average wage in Sweden is $54,000. I would have had to sold 10 times as much to get an average wage, but it's still on its way there. But let's see where I would have made an average wage. As you can see here, I earned more than the average wage in most of Africa.
Yeah, but it's also something to put on your resume, you know, experience. You're paying for experience, essentially. All
Look
these
at
stats
this
and stuff
hobo.
will be
Look
things
at
you can use.
him. Look at this streamer. Observe how he reacts. Gaze upon his non-moving face expressions. Notice his passion for the draft. Look at the best streamer on Twitch. Look at him. He is still poor.
Not as poor as the dev.
If you liked the video, make sure to leave a like and a comment on what you want to see next.